Welcome back to my poker vlog. This is episode number 200 for this channel. We've got a good one today. It's 10, 25, 50. I buy in for $8,000. The swings are wild. The hands are crazy. Stay tuned all the way to the end of the video for some big pots. First hand here, I've got King Jack offsuit. Big blind calls, $25. I raise it up to $200 in the straddle, and he makes the call. Heads up here to Queen Jack 7 rainbow. He checks, and I check this one back. Turn card 9, and now my opponent leads out for a $250 bet. I have second pair and overcard to the board, and a gut shot straight draw. Seems like a pretty standard call, so I put in $250 as well, and the river card is the 8 of spades. If he bets, I'll be folding, but he instantly checks over to me. Now, any 10 will make a straight once he checks here on the river. I highly doubt he's ever going to have a 10 for a straight, so I think it's a spot I could potentially turn my hand into a bluff to get him to fold out hands like Queen X, maybe weaker two pairs. He just limp called pre-flop. He shouldn't have any sets on this board. So I decided to turn my jack into a bluff. Representing a straight, I can have jack 10, pocket 10s, 9, 10, ace 10. I bet $575 as a bluff, and I get snap called. I show my hand, and my opponent shows 8, 10 offsuit for a straight, which is going to beat our jack. Very well played by my opponent, and we are down over $1,000 here, our very first hand. Next up, there's an early position limp for $50, a cutoff raise to $250, and I peel back a beautiful king queen of diamonds in the small blind, a hand I think I want to be 3-bet or folding from this position. In these tougher games, I really don't want to be calling out of position given the fact that the big blind could squeeze, the straddle could squeeze, I could go multi-way. Also, the cutoff player raised from late position, he could have some weaker hands that he could fold if I re-raise, so I bump it up here to $1,025. Big blind folds, straddle folds, early position limper who called $50 now calls $1,000. Wow, okay. Now back over to the cutoff who's got $2,500 in his stack, and he decides to go all in. I knew this was a possibility. The cutoff player could actually wake up with a real hand. The thing is, he only has $2,500, which is 50 big blinds for this game. There's a dead $1,000 in the middle from the early position player. Just don't think I'm ever going to be folding king-queen suited in this situation. The cutoff player could have ace-high hands that we're flipping against. He could have smaller pocket pairs like 9s, 10s, and jacks that we're flipping against. We're really only crushed against ace-king, kings, queens, and aces. So I decide to re-raise again to $5,000 just to isolate the cutoff player. Early position player folds, so now there's $1,000 worth of dead money in the pot. Cutoff player has $2,600. I match his bet. We're going to run out this board one time.
Well, what's in the river?
Worst case scenario, up against ace king, we lose a $5,000 pot. I don't want to be results oriented here though. I feel like playing aggressive pre-flop. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes he's going to fold out hands we're beating, and sometimes we're going to run into the top of his range. Unfortunately, we did that this time. Well, I'm down over $4,000 within the first 10 minutes of this session. I could call it quits and go home, but I am not a quitter. I head to the cage and I take out $20,000 out of my player's bank. We're ready to gamble. Let's play some big pots. Let's get this money back. One of the players wants to play a bomb pot, so there's a $100 raise. We all call blind and go heads up here to ace 5 8 2 spades. I look down at my cards and I've got 4 deuce offsuit. In all honesty, it's actually not too bad of a hand. I have a gut shot straight draw, backdoor 4 high flush draw. There's a $100 bet. I call on the button, and an early position player calls as well. We're 3 ways now to the 5 of spades on the turn. The action checks to me. I'm not going to bluff on this turn, so I check back, and the river card's a king of clubs. We do not get there. We're left here with 4 high. The pot's over $1,000, but the action checks to me again. I feel like it's a spot. Maybe I could bluff somebody off an 8, a weaker ace. They probably shouldn't have any flushes or full houses once they check twice, so I bet $1,100. And it gets the job done when both of my opponents fold. After taking this pot down, I have around a $26,000 stack, which looks great for the video and for pictures, but remember, I was in the game for $8,500 and I added on for $20,000, so I'm still down around 2K on the day, but that may change here when we look down at pocket aces in the straddle. 2 calls for $50, I bump it up to $250. The button calls and we go heads up to King 10-9. I bet, and he folds, and we win a small pot here with aces. Now, if you're looking at GTO hand range charts for 8-handed play, 8-10 offsuit from under the gun would be an easy fold. But in this game, there hasn't been too much 3-betting so far. There's a couple players in the blinds I want to play pots with, so I raise it up to $125. Folds all the way to the straddle, who makes the call, and we go heads up to Queen 10-7, 2 hearts. Second pair, he checks, I bet $200 and he calls. Turn card, Jack of clubs, another overcard to my pair. My opponent checks to me, and this is a very interesting card, really because ace-king now is the nuts, and given the fact that my opponent did not 3-bet pre-flop, he's just not going to have ace-king hardly ever here. I've been playing with him for 2 years. I think he would always 3-bet pre-flop with ace-king. So in this situation, I'm the only player that can have the nuts. He really can't. So I decided to overbet the size of the pot here on the turn and make it $1,050. Obviously, I'm turning my hand into a bluff, trying to get him to fold out a weaker Queen X hand, maybe possibly a 2-pair hand. I also have an 8 in my hand, so I block him from having the lower straight with 8-9 suited, which is a hand that he would have to probably call with. I'm hoping he folds those hands. We're obviously pricing out flush draws as well, and eventually he does show me Jack 10 for 2-pair and folds. So this overbet gets the job done. We take this one down with a 10, and we are cruising now right back to even on the night. $50 straddle is still on. There's an early position call for 50. I peel back ace-jack offsuit in middle position. I bump into 250, and he makes the call. Heads up here in position to ace-jack-jack. Very good flop for ace-jack offsuit. He checks. I bet $100, and he calls. Turn card deuces spades. My opponent checks again. I continue for a small sizing, $250. He makes the call again. Looking good for us, sitting here with a full house. River card is the 5 of spades. He checks over to me for a third time. Of course, we're going to continue to bet here, but I want to figure out what sizing I want to go. It's possible he could have an ace, maybe even a slow play jack. I'm going to go big, $1,550 bet here on the river with a full house. After thinking for not too long, my opponent puts in the call. I show the full house, and of course, it is good. And now our stack has grown to $30,000. One player leaves the game, and another player sits down, looks around the table, and buys in for $25,000. This particular player plays poker for a living. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's buying in deep to try to cover the table. I could play some big pots with him, and we do get this opportunity when I peel back pocket aces from early position. I make it $125. Cutoff player calls $125 before the big stack button player makes it $550 to go. Now the big blind player who just sat down at the table with $10,000 cold calls this 3-bet and the action's back over on me. Obviously a great situation. Pocket aces facing a 3-bet and a call. I'm super deep stack with the button player, $25,000 effective. A 4-bet here with aces is definitely necessary, but what size should we go with this dead money in the pot, given the fact that I'm out of position, super deep stacked? I decided to go about 4x. I make it $2,200. The button player who 3-bet me pretty quickly makes the call for $2,200. The big blind folds. The button has about $23,000 left. I cover him. I'm quickly realizing that this could be a massive pot, potentially $50,000 in the middle, depending on what the run out comes. The flop comes out King 7-3 rainbow. All in all, it's a pretty good board. Obviously, kings we could be losing to. I decided to down bet very small here, $1,200. On such a dry and unconnected board in a 4-bet pot with pocket aces, we want to be betting small. Keep him in here with his pocket pairs, his ace-high hands. Doesn't take too long for the button, though, to release his cards back to the dealer. However, we do end up taking down about $3,000 worth of profit here with pocket aces. Over the past 2 years when I play 10-25 no limit, I usually buy in for around 100 big blinds, which is $5,000. Lately, I have been increasing the amount that I've been buying in. I've been doing 7,000, 10,000. Today, though, is the biggest buy-in I've ever had at one of these games, $28,000, which is great. We can play some big pots, but that also means we could potentially lose some big pots as well. The game really does change as you get deeper and deeper. 100 big blind deep poker, there really isn't that much room for error. You can't really go too wrong 100 big blinds deep. However, 500 big blinds deep, 600 big blinds deep, you could make some huge decisions that could cost you thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're not careful. Well, in this hand, I've got King 10 of hearts. I raised to 125. The same Super Euro Pro who 3-bet me last hand with $25,000 in his stack, 3-bets me again to $400. I make the call out of position here to a 7-8 jack board. I do have a gut shot straight draw, backdoor flush draw, 1 overcard. I check to my opponent who puts out a $300 bet. I think we could go back and forth between check raising our hand here and just calling. This is when it gets a little bit dicey, super deep stacked. Let's say we check raise to $850 or $900. And then he re-raises me to $2,500, we could be in a really tough spot. If I just call, I can see the turn rather cheaply, maybe try to bluff on the river if he checks back. So that's what I do, and the turn 3 of diamonds does not improve us at all. Doesn't give us any extra equity. I check over to him, folding to any bet that he's going to make, but he slows down now and checks behind. River card, deuce of diamonds, backdoor diamond flush draw gets there. I have to decide now, should I bluff or should I give up and check my king high?
I have to bluff. $775. Bluff. Got it.
$775 bluff gets this one through. Definitely some run good going my way. Not only are we making hands and having our hands hold up, our opponents aren't making any hands and aren't able to call us. He probably had ace queen, ace king, ace 10, a hand that is slightly better than ours but cannot call a $775 bet. Our stack is increasing again, $34,000 sitting in front of us. And next up, we are about to play a massive pot. The biggest pot I've actually ever played in my life. I get dealt in aces under the gun. I make it 125 over a $50 straddle. Next to act, under the gun +1, re-raises me to 375. He started the hand with about $15,000. This particular opponent does not like to fold pre-flop. A 4-bet is definitely in store here, and I'm going to go big out of position. We're deep stacked. He doesn't like to fold, so I re-bump it up to $1,300. Back over to my opponent, who rechecks his cards, and then 5-bets me to $3,800, $3,800 bet. Back over on us, and we have pocket aces. I'm experiencing a ton of emotions at this time. I'm experiencing excitement. I'm getting 5-bet when I've got the best hand pre-flop. I'm experiencing nervousness as well because there's still over $11,000 to play for, and I'm also experiencing a little bit of disappointment. You may be curious, why would you be disappointed in this situation? Well, I think this particular player, when he 5-bets me from an under the gun open, under the gun +1 3-bet, he's going to have aces a large portion of the time. Just don't think he's 5-betting with jacks or queens, maybe ace king, possibly kings as well. With that said, I now have to figure out how I want to play these pocket aces. Do I just call the 5-bet out of position? Do I 6-bet jam all in? This is the kind of spots I'm really not studied in or experienced in, because I don't play super deep stack like this. I feel like there's merit to both options. So one thing that was going through my head is that if I call and the run out gets really bad, let's say there's 4 hearts or 4 spades, I could potentially get bluffed off the best hand. I've got aces, the best hand possible. This guy does not like to fold. I'm going to target his pocket kings and ace king suited, and I decide to 6-bet jam all in for $20,000, and I get snap called just like that. We are playing over a $30,000 pot with pocket aces.
Call.
Same hand.
More action, guys.
Twice?
Do you have aces?
Yeah.
You want to just drop it?
No, I want to run it twice.
Twice?
Mm,
Okay.
All in. What if I misread my hand? That'd be crazy, right? Somewhat as expected, aces versus aces. This was the biggest pot I've ever played, though. $30,000 in the middle. We ran it out twice, chopped it up. Let me know down in the comments what you guys would do in this situation. Around 300 big blinds deep, facing a 5-bet out of position. Would you jam or would you just call? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments below. There's an action player who sits down to my right. The cutoff super pro makes the call. Big blind action player makes the call. I defend in the strata with Jack 9 offsuit. Flop top pair and a gut shot straight draw on a Jack high board. Big blind action player now leads out into both of us for a $175 bet. I don't really want to call here with my top pair. Definitely not folding. So I decide to raise, trying to isolate this big blind player and make it $500. Not what I want to have happen, though. Next is when the super pro in the cutoff calls my $500 and the big blind action player folds. We're heads up now, out of position to an interesting turn card, which is a 9. Giving me 2 pair now, but also bringing in an 8 for a straight. Also, king queen gets there for a straight as well. An interesting spot whether I should bet here or check. I feel like I can pretty comfortably check call depending on the sizing, so I decide to slow down and check, and the cutoff player checks behind. River card 6 of clubs. I'm going to go for a thin value now against one pair hands like aces, kings, and queens. I bet out 450. Cutoff snap folds, and we win another pot. It's now 3 in the morning. I've been playing for a while. At one point, I was down $4,000. I added on for $20K and recouped all those losses, plus some. Things have been going my way so far. Got aces 3 times. Everything's holding up. Bluffs are getting through. I consider staying here and keep playing while the game is decent, but I'm extremely deep stack with a couple very good players at the table. Instead of playing very deep stack poker against super pros at 3 a.m. when I'm tired, I decide to book the win and cash out for the biggest cash out I've ever had down here in Florida. $35,000 heading to the cage. All I gotta say is it feels good to run good. That was a sick poker session. Going from down $4,000, clawing back, hitting huge hands, winning huge pots, cashing out for $35,000. This is the most I've ever bought in for with my own money at a poker game. I've been trying to push myself lately as my bankroll has grown, as my experience has grown, as I feel comfortable playing more deep stack. I've been buying in for more and more money, and tonight was huge. $28,000 worth of a buy-in, and luckily it went our way. Ended up winning $6,995. So I do have a couple things I want to talk about. One, I mentioned going to Las Vegas for the World Series of Poker. I was supposed to be there right now, and I'm not. I'm back here in Florida. Why did I not go to the World Series of Poker? Well, there's a couple reasons. The first is that I'm a cash game player. I don't really play tournaments. I was not really planning on playing the main event this year either. So I thought, do I really want to fly all the way out to Vegas to play cash games against other pros from different countries who come there to play poker and win money? I might just stay here in Florida, relax, have some fun, and continue to play the cash games here. Another big reason I didn't go to the World Series of Poker this year is because I was planning on going early July, but I have a trip scheduled at the end of July to Los Angeles, California. Why am I going to Los Angeles, California? Well, I'm going to be playing again on Hustler Casino Live, July 27th, 4 or 5 p.m. It's a 10-20-40 game. I'm going to be buying in for $40,000 total for that game. I'm super excited about this. I get the opportunity to play again on the best live stream there is against some of the most fun players playing huge pots. I'm going to be drinking. I'm going to be giving action, buying in deep, putting in some big bluffs, putting in big bets. Hopefully it's an exciting game. I'm really excited for that. But the reason I didn't go to the World Series of Poker is that I didn't want to fly all the way to Vegas, come home, and then have to fly all the way back out to LA just 2 weeks later. So I'm going to make a trip all in one. I'm going out to Vegas, then I'm going to go to LA for the game, come back to Vegas. And yeah, that's why I'm not going out there. I'll be out there next year for sure. I plan on actually playing the main event. I got a little bit of FOMO watching the main event coverage. Definitely kind of wish I would have fired a bullet. I will fire next year. I also think I'm going to play some more tournaments next year. I'll try to play, maybe 4 or 5 World Series of Poker tournaments and, maybe we'll see what happens. We could get our first World Series of Poker cash, maybe a ring or a bracelet or whatever the hell they do. I don't know. I'm a cash game player. Either way, big things coming. Hustler Casino Live. Hopefully big wins. Got some fun videos coming up next for you guys as well. Please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see ya.